Hello and welcome back to the Strategic Gaming Podcast. It has been a minute since I've done one of these, guys. I have been very busy, extremely busy I got a new vehicle, so I was getting all the things taken care of with that, and it's the holiday season, and my brother graduated from college, and there has just been a lot of various things happening. So I have actually fallen behind a little on my Island of the Idols podcasts. So I'm going to play a little game of catch up. I got to get done episodes 10, 11, and 12. And I'm going to have them online tonight because tomorrow is going to be the season finale of the Island of the Idols, where I will be, live tweeting and things on social media during the show. And afterwards, I will try to maybe do a live podcast. If not doing a live podcast, I'll upload one later that evening. So I'm actually going to be doing episodes 10, 11, 12, going through them, giving my thoughts. And then I'm going to do a separate podcast talking about the final 5 and my thoughts on them. So, we're almost done here with the Island of the Idols. It has actually been a good season. I have enjoyed myself watching it. I was, I like a lot of people this season, was ready for season 40, Winners at War, not really wanting to wait that long for it, but it has been great. So, without further ado, let's talk about these 3 episodes. We got so much to get through, and, let's do it. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, we were just coming out of that double tribal where Aaron and Missy go out. And Lauren is very worried, is Tommy going to come back? Because, when you're split up like that would be super frustrating, not knowing what happened at their tribal. So just waiting, seeing that Tommy came back and that Missy was gone, she's like, oh my God, this is great. Like, this is so good for me right now. And Karishma is very confident about her spot. And I'm not entirely sure why she's so confident about her spot. And Elizabeth, the complete opposite. She is not confident at all, nor should she be. Her 2 closest allies went out back to back. That has to be terrifying. And Dean, he wants Karishma gone because he's worried about the goats rising up. And Dean is having some definite goat denial because I think Dean is more of a goat than most of these people. He hasn't done anything. At least Karishma found and played an idol. Dean has a fake advantage that is basically like just hand-drawn by Jamal. That he's convinced he swears, and he's not the only one that swears up and down it's real. So it's ridiculous. Tommy and Lauren, they're more leaning toward taking out Elizabeth because she's good at challenges. She's an Olympic athlete. They need to take her out soon. And then someone's got to go to the Island of the Idols. And Lauren's like, well, I'd like to go to the Island of the Idols. I mean, especially at this deep in the game, that sort of advantage could be crucial to your game moving forward. So I totally understand why she wanted to go. And basically, Rob and Sandra come out, and she's all excited because being the fan she is of the game. And she must get people to, it's going to be like a eat or play kind of immunity. And at first, if you pick the one person who wins immunity, she's like, I don't know if I could pick the one person. Like, all right, well, we'll give you 2 options. She's like, okay, I'll do that. So I'll pick the 2 people I think are going to win the immunity. And she picks Elizabeth and Nora. So one of them wins immunity. She will get an idol. If they do not win immunity, then she loses her vote. So she goes back to camp, and I mean, she is selling that breakfast hard. because she knows that it's going to be a breakfast. So she's talking the food up. She's trying to get people to really want it and to visualize it. And they do the thing where you have 2 rocks, and one says you eat, one says you play. And the only people who are going to play immunity are Karishma, Nora, and Elizabeth. So she has two of her people are the 3 playing, and the other one's Karishma. So she's pretty much got it in the bag right there. Like, if I'm Lauren in that moment, I'm like, this is a done deal. Karishma's not going to win this. I've got an idol. And I hate to say that, because you should never really feel so certain in Survivor. But I feel like, especially with Karishma winning immunity, I think you can pretty much let that one go. And she drops out very quickly and throws a pity party for herself. It's hard to root for Karishma as the underdog because she's a whiny underdog. I like the scrappy underdog. So it's hard for me to get behind Karishma. So it comes down to Elizabeth and Nora. Nora wins immunity here and does this thing where she tries to like hang on past the challenge so they could keep eating. And it's just so Nora. Like, she's so kooky. I love it. I love Nora on this season. I do. So Lauren gets her idol. And so everyone talks about it's either going to be Karishma or Elizabeth. And Nora even goes through Karishma's bag, but she's like, I found a note, but there's no idol in there. And I'm like, Nora, if there's a note or a piece of paper or whatever in her bag, she's got something. Like, why are you so quick to dismiss that she may have an idol? It's crazy. It was absolutely crazy to me that she just let that go. Karishma is told to vote Janet. She's totally cool voting Janet. And she talks to Dan about it. And then she goes over to talk because Dan tells her, all right, Elizabeth's going to go, but you need to vote for Janet. And then she goes over to tells Elizabeth, like, you're next. We need to work together. And then Lauren's trying to, like, read her lips and sees Dan's name being talked about. Tells Dan, and then Dan goes up and tries to kind of dissipate that talk. So they go to tribal council, and Dean plays a fake legacy advantage that he knows is fake, because he plans on playing the one he thinks is real but is also fake at 6. And then Karishma goes and plays her idol, and Lauren's like, oh shit, she could try to be taking me out. I'm playing my idol. So Lauren plays her idol. And the vote comes out 7-1-1, 7 votes being for Karishma, so those votes do not count. 1 vote Janet, 1 vote Elizabeth, and we're going to have a re-vote. When I saw Janet's name pop up, I was like, oh no, not Janet, not Janet. And I saw Elizabeth, I said, oh God, whoever wrote down Elizabeth just saved their asses. So they re-vote, and by a vote of 7-0, Elizabeth voted out. My final thoughts on Elizabeth. Besides the whole Dan fiasco that I think she was wrong about, but she's put out her apology. She understands that she was wrong there. I thought she was a pretty good player. I mean, she formed the alliance like with Elaine and the girls, did a lot of damage early on. Laid low. I mean, when it came to that alliance, I think Elaine and Missy were in front of her for danger level. It's just when Elaine flipped, that's when her card came up. But I think Elizabeth played a really good game. But, she made it just about as far as I think she was gonna. The writing was on the wall here for her, and if she didn't want immunity, there was nothing she really could do. All right, and with that, we're going on to episode 11. So we start off with a milestone in Survivor. If you are playing the game of Survivor, there are those moments that you think you dream of. and those check marks you want to have off your survivor list. Hitting the beach and getting your tribe and setting up camp and making fire and then, making the merge and the jury or a tribe swap. And, after the jury, then it's the loved ones visit. And so here it is with the loved ones visit. Lauren's husband is there, Tommy's girlfriend, Karishma's husband, Nora's sister, Janet's husband, Dean's mom. Dan has his 13-year-old son, which is like, oh, geez, this is going to get a little awkward. And Elaine has her girlfriend. And so they have to, get under, this obstacle and toss, a bag on a podium. And Tommy and Janet win the reward. And they're going to take Dan and Lauren. I knew Tommy was going to take Lauren. That was just a given. But why did Janet pick Dan? Why not Dean or Elaine? Why Dan? I mean, I guess it's hard to turn down a child. But, damn. Oh boy, it was awkward. It's just you want me to say it? Did they talk about what they were gonna do with this? It's weird. It was all a little bit odd. Sorry if there's some noise. My dogs usually tend to wait till I podcast to try to make noise. So my dog is just aggressively rolling around on the floor with nothing. And Dan is trash talking the other four. They're on the outs. It's the four of us on the reward is going to the end. And Lauren was like, I want to take out Karishma, which I don't really see why. I think Dean and Janet are bigger threats than Karishma, and Elaine's a bigger threat than Karishma. And then while they're gone, Nora just rants about how, I'm not going to be on the outs, and, this just shows me where I'm at, and she just goes on and on and on. In typical Nora fashion. Everyone's just got that look on their face oh my God, this girl. For the love of God, lady. We get it. We're not on the reward. We're all upset. But they do talk about they could make a 4-4 split. And if they get the idol, then they can decide from one of the four on the reward to go home. So they go on an idol hunt. And Nora's trying to activate her brain to seek the idol, but it is Elaine who finds that immunity idol. So they have it set up. They could do a 4-4 split, put the votes on Tommy or Lauren or Dan, and that's it. They'll get their way. So it's the immunity where you have to hold the ball in place, and you're trying not, if you move a little bit, the ball will roll off its little spot. The elimination order is Dean, Tommy, Nora, Janet, Karishma, and Dan. Comes down to Elaine and Lauren. Lauren wins individual immunity, and she was like, oh my God, did I just do that? And really, in a thing of milestones, she got to go on the loved ones visit with her husband, and then wins immunity right after. It must have been a great couple of days for Lauren. And Dan's really confident that everything's going to run smoothly. And Janet tells Nora, hey, Karishma's going to go. Pretty simple stuff. And Nora's like, oh, I could go with them, or I could make this big flip on Tommy, and we'll just take Tommy out. And so Dean's like, all right, are we going to do this? And Nora's like, well, I don't know. We could do this way, or we split the vote. If they're going to do, we could split 2-2 or 3-1 in case they have an idol. And Dean's like, okay, this is really complicated. And Dean's not a super strategy player. Dean will follow the numbers, and he follows the plan that has the least amount of calculated risk. So when you're talking about, 3-1 and 2-2 and 1-1 and 1, if you confuse Dean, he won't go with your plan. You need something simple and that seems you need to be confident, because then Dean will follow you because he thinks it's the safe route to go. Dean is really a goat because he really follows the power structure and does not have any strategic input nor influence. So Dean's a little shook by this, and really bad on Nora to not at least lie to him. And Tommy goes into the vote, he's worried. I mean, like, this is, if they can get this vote, they've got it down, but it may not be so easy. So at Tribal, Dean leans to Tommy, and he's like, hey, they're putting the votes on you. And Tommy's like, well, what? And then a whole whisper-geddon comes out, and Nora's like, I'm going to stop the whispering right here. Tommy, I was never going to write your name down. Dean, it was Dean's idea, and Elaine has an idol. And I'm like, whoa, hey there, Nora. This is your only shot to take out one of these big players. And she didn't, there was hardly any pressure, and she cracked. Like, it was like someone, like, placed their hand on her shoulder, and she crumpled. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, this fell right into Tommy's lap. Dean gets shook, then Nora gets shook. This plan just blows the fuck up. And it's a good plan. They should have followed through. If you're not Dan, Lauren, or Tommy, this is a good thing that they're doing. Really, as long as you're not Tommy, this is a good thing that's happening. Crazy that they didn't run this plan through. So, Elaine's idol's on the out, so she plays that. And by a vote of 5-3, Karishma voted out. Elaine did not need to play the idol, and Karishma is gone. My final thoughts on Karishma: she played the pity party a lot, was going to be a final goat, and then really rubbed people the wrong way and got out anyway. Like, she couldn't even get her GOAT status correct, and that's just bad. That's just overall very bad. So, no bueno for Karishma. But I do think that was a mistake. I think if they were going to take out somebody, they should have taken out either Elaine or Dean. They should not have left or taken Karishma out because she's not going to win anything. The idols are pretty much played out at this point. You should have just let her go a little further. What is the harm in having a goat you may not like, but it's a goat? So into the next episode here, Tommy is shook because he knew had Dean and Nora not exploded, he would have went home had that plan went through. No, I think the realization hit him that, holy crap, I did not have this game completely under wraps, and I almost went home because of it. And Nora's scrambling, like, I was never going to write your name down. I had a lot going on, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you, and it's like, it's very convenient. So Nora takes Dean's shoes and, like, hides them where they put, like, the people voted out, like, an article of their clothing they have behind up on the flag. Because she's like, Dean's next, so we might as well put his shoes up there. I'm like, Nora, why do you think Dean is next? Like, pretty sure Elaine's the obvious target. So I don't know why you think that Dean is next. So Elaine and Dean, they go idol hunting. And Tommy and Janet, like, shit, we got to go idol hunting now, too. And Janet finds the idol. And so this is great for Janet. I mean, she's going to come up as a target. So eventually, you might as well have this thing. Can play it until, Final Five is, I believe, the last shot to play that idol. So Janet's like, I feel pretty good. I'm not up next on the target block, and I have an idol. I think I got a good shot here. And Dean and Elaine they don't see the idol, but they see them, like, talking and reading something. So they're like, yeah, they probably found the idol. Shit. And Elaine knows, like, she's on the block here. She's in some trouble. And she is, and she should be. Because she's very likable and she's pretty good at challenges. It would make sense to take Elaine out next. And so she's trying to kind of throw Tommy under the bus to try to shift. He's like, hey, Lauren, Tommy wants to go with the guys with Dan and Dean. Where does that leave you? You should probably take me further because, I want to take you to the end. And Lauren should definitely be thinking about this because, you always, we're down to 7. We do need to think about endgame. But she cannot sit next to Elaine. I think she should definitely be thinking about not sitting next to Tommy, and Tommy probably not going to want to sit next to her, but Elaine's not the one to take because Elaine will win in the end. So Elaine's got to go. Maybe not now, but it's also a little risky because she's good at immunities. So it's a tough spot. And Tommy is immediately trying to calm Lauren down, really trying to shift things away from himself. But in his confessional, he does confirm he wants her gone. He wants to take Dan and Dean in the final 3. And then Dean gets sent to the island of the idols and talks about the legacy advantage. He wants to play at 6, and Rob and Sandra have to try to keep it together because I don't know if I could keep it together. Like, this guy's played a fake he made of the fake. And now he's still got the original fake. And he thinks it's real, and other people think it's real. And it's absolutely bananas that you would think that would be real. And Dean is even like, I want to draw votes on me so that I can play the advantage and make a move. And, oh man, I wish we could have seen that happen. We'll talk about it in a minute. Man, it would have been fantastic to see that happen. So basically it's a management on it's a lesson on jury management. And he could pick an extra vote, an idol nullifier, or an idol. But it's a coin flip. And, if you lose the coin flip, you lose your vote. Now, this vote is probably okay for him not to have a vote in. And also the nullifier seems like the obvious choice. Especially since he knows Janet's got an idol. So it kind of seemed pretty obvious he would pick that. So he flips the coin and he gets it. He gets the nullifier. And he tells everybody at the tribe, it was a coin flip. I lost it, and so I lost my vote. Which, Dean, they'll probably see the number of votes. Unless it's like a landslide, so that might not be the best thing. But then he tells Tommy, Lauren, and Dan about the nullifier. So I think at this point he's kind of with the legacy advantage, the quote-unquote legacy advantage, and the nullifier, he's kind of losing his GOAT status. I don't think anybody really wants to take him now because he may not have a great resume, but he's got something. So they play immunity, which is like you have to unravel yourself in a spool, go across a balance beam, and do this like word puzzle. And it's close between Dean and Elaine, but Dean wins immunity here. And Elaine is just so upset because she knows it was her ass, and she was so close but could not get it. And people talk about maybe they take out Nora instead of Elaine. So Dan's like, I'm going to put a vote on Nora. And everybody else does vote Elaine. And Lauren contemplates flipping the vote. Go with the girls. Take out, Dan or Tommy. So those 3 guys aren't going to go to the end. And so she tells Janet, and Janet's like, hey, if that's a move that you think we can make, I'm down. And at Tribal, Dean does kind of flex, and Boston Rob just makes fun of him so hard for doing that, and it cracks me up. And Elaine talks about, you should keep me in, at least for now, because then I'm the biggest threat. I'm the next to go. So, you got someone in front of you. If you take me out now, the next biggest threat's going to go next. And it's a good point, but she's proved herself to be so dangerous and likable that I completely understand why they would not want to keep her. I mean, and she really just, she puts it all out on the line. And this is the kind of underdog I like. I don't like the charisma underdog where they complain about being the underdog the whole time. Elaine just goes for it. She puts it all out on the table. She's scrappy, and she's a fighter, and that's the kind of underdog I want to root for. So I love Elaine. But the vote comes out 5-2, and Elaine is voted out like a true champion, and she goes out. No hard feelings. It's a game. Good luck, guys. And it was sad to see her go. But she played a great game. From the start, people wanted her out, and she managed to align with Missy and Aaron and Elizabeth, and then she came and she flipped on them, which was a great idea. And she got really far. I mean, 7 out of 20 is a good run. And I think if anyone from this season is going to get brought back, it's going to be Elaine. I think she's an all-star kind of competitor and a character. So she's gone, and then we see a message saying that Dan had another incident not involving a player, and he has been removed from the game. So I'm not going to talk too much about this. Clearly, Dan did not learn his lesson. He's a creep. He is a despicable human being, and, I'm glad that he's not going to be involved with this any further. So with that being said, guys, we're caught up. We're gearing up for the finale. I'm so ready tonight to do that. Also, check out the podcast where I break down the final 5 and their chances of winning. Again, I'm Mac Taylor. See you guys for the finale.